Medicinal mushrooms for cognitive function, immunity, and endurance. What are medicinal mushrooms? These are essentially adaptogens, a subset of adaptogens, and an adaptogen is essentially an herb that helps your body adapt to stress. For example, if you're overly stressed or under stressed, that compound will help your body be more balanced either way, so it works both ways. Like a lot of herbs are stimulants or they're suppressants, but the adaptogen helps your body adapt to what is necessary in that moment. When we talk about mushrooms, we can talk about mycelium, which is the underground fungal network, which is the largest mass in the entire world. Mycelium has the ability to produce mushrooms. When we look at pharmaceutical drugs today, you know that 40% of them are actually made from mushrooms themselves. When we look at drugs, they actually come from nature, but the difference is that they isolate the compounds and they chemically alter them so they become more powerful in some instances. But then you're left with all these side effects. But the reality is they're not side effects, they're direct effects because everything in the body is connected. When we look at mushrooms, we have 4 different categories. So we got the culinary, so this is like the portobello, the cremini, the white button. So you can kind of have these as like vegetables in terms of nutrient density, even though they are different categories. Like you have mushrooms which are fungi, and you have vegetables which are plants. Those are 2 different things. And then we can get into the medicinal mushrooms, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And these are mushrooms that have been used for thousands of years for medicinal purposes, used as medicine. So we got chaga, reishi, lion's mane, cordyceps, and some others as well. Again, these are adaptogens that are very effective at healing the body. Next, we have psychedelic mushrooms. Now, these, of course, are used as transcendent experiences and sometimes hedonistic pleasure. Even these have their place. Like it's not just like stay away from these. It's like some people can get a lot of benefit out of them. Just use them in an intelligent manner. Next, we have the poisonous, which are mushrooms we obviously want to stay away from. So now let's get into the mushrooms themselves. So I'm gonna go over the 4 main ones. So we got number 1 here, which is chaga. Now chaga is grown in Northern America and Russia primarily. The thing that's so remarkable about chaga is that it's a very high source of melanin. Now melanin is that pigment in our skin that is responsible for protecting against the sun. It's also an extremely powerful antioxidant. You actually can consume this in chaga, so you will have some sun protection of that as well. Another thing is that it helps you produce SOD, or superoxide dismutase. And SOD is like an antioxidant that we produce internally. And now all the antioxidants that we produce by ourselves are going to be so much more powerful than anything we take externally. It's literally made from your body by your body. Chaga has also been shown to increase our NK cells, or natural killer cells, by upwards of 300%. These are the cells that go out and take any type of rogue pathogen out, or any type of virus or whatever. Chaga also has a lot of literature when it comes to anti-cancer as well. There's one done in Helion that showed that chaga significantly reduced the blood supply to cancer cells as well as reduced tumor size. Let's go ahead and research this. It's all over the place. Chaga is that deal. And lastly, chaga is the king of mushrooms. That's what it's known as. So we're going to transition to number 2 here, which is reishi, which is actually the queen of mushrooms. Now, reishi has been noted in the Materia Medica, which is the ancient Chinese ranking of herbs and what they do in terms of the body. Thousands of years old, and they ranked reishi as number 1 for everything. So reishi was highly prized in ancient Chinese medicine and still is today. The thing with reishi is that it's much more known as a relaxing type of herb. Helps you with sleep, hormone regulation, those types of things. But also would like to note, it also has been shown to increase the NK cells by 300%, just like chaga. There was an interesting study done in the Journal of Pharmacology, Biochemistry, and Behavior that showed that reishi significantly reduced sleep latency, or the time it takes to fall asleep, improved sleep-wake cycles, non-REM, and deep sleep as well. It's very rich in polysaccharides and triterpenes, which are responsible for many of the benefits of reishi. And when it comes to these mushrooms in general, there's a compound called beta-glucans, and these are kind of like the immune system agent that works on NK cells. Number 3, we have lion's mane. Now, when we look at the doctrine of signatures, this is essentially how a food looks, smells, touch, tastes, and how it functions in nature. Is how it correlates with benefits in our bodies. Lion's mane looks like a bundle of neurons, and just so happens that it's excellent for cognitive function. We know that lion's mane has been proven to stimulate something called neurogenesis, or the creation of new neurons. Now, this happens in the hippocampus and olfactory bulb within our brains. So we know that it helps your brain produce BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which helps with synaptogenesis, or the creation of new synapses. It's also been used with great success with TBI, or traumatic brain injuries. There's a study done in the Journal of Medicinal Mushrooms that shows that it significantly improves cognitive function as well as neurogenesis. Lastly, here we have number 4, which is cordyceps. Now, this grows on logs and caterpillars, and interestingly, it protects the caterpillars. These have a long history in Chinese medicine as well, and there's an ancient story that the royal family was the only ones allowed to consume this mushroom, and it would be punishable by death if anyone else would be caught using them. So it's very cool that we have access to things like this today. This is kind of like the athletic mushroom, so it's very good for endurance, performance, and it's been used widely in the Olympics as well. In the Journal of Alternative Complementary Medicine, it showed that cordyceps improved the lactate threshold, improved ventilation, and endurance overall. Now, we are going to talk about how to optimize the usage of these things themselves. Because people hear this, they see all the great benefits, but they don't realize that just like any supplement, just like any product, not everything is going to be created equal. You really want to buy from a reputable company, great sourcing, all that. So primarily you want to look for something called wild harvested. So this is essentially when people go out in the wild with their own operation, they cultivate these things, and it's like the most nutrient dense, most benefits that you're going to get. Next, you want to get log grown. This is next best, and make sure this is done correctly, a reputable company. Don't get ones that are grown on grain. This could be kind of harmful and have negative effects. The thing with these mushrooms is that they have this hard shell called chitin. It's like a lobster shell. And because of this, you can't just eat them for most of them. You can't just pick them up and eat them. You have to do a variety of methods to make them drinkable. And there are 2 methods that you want to look for. So hot water extraction, which is taking the mushrooms and doing something called a decoction, which is when you are using a lot of hot water to extract all the nutrients. And these are going to be like the more immune system compounds within the hot water extraction. And you also want to look for something called an alcohol extraction, or a tincture. And this is when you get like the more hormonal compounds that help with sleep, like the triterpenes and whatnot. Because the problem is that most companies do either or. So you hear the research, and you're only getting like half the benefits from that company. So you want a company that does both. In addition, you would want to combine some type of vitamin C with it as well, like maybe a rose hips. Because the thing with nutrients is that they're synergistic. Like our ancestors were not just consuming one compound, like we do these days. Like everything works together. There are bioconstituents, cofactors that work together to make the nutrients work better within your bodies. So vitamin C is known as a biopotentiator, which works as an agent to stimulate nutrients within your body, especially with things like this. And lastly, we want to have some type of fat, like some type of MCT oil, medium chain triglyceride oil, coconut oil, grass-fed butter, because the fat-soluble compounds within these need fat to be properly absorbed. So if you want to get all the benefits, those would be the things, and that can be a lot. So a company that I use myself is Four Sigmatic. They do all of these things together. They have all the benefits right there, wild harvested, and I've been using this for a long time. Definitely recommend them. There are others as well, but utilizing synergistic herbs and adding some type of fat is very beneficial. So now that we know all the benefits of these, remember that all that sounds great, but doesn't necessarily work, and also utilize them. So take action, notice the benefits. And if you can, please leave a review. Would really help out the show. Just let people know what you think.